Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I have the NFL football back here. It's not quite football season again yet, but while I guess some of you don't know, I was kind of out. I've been at different places, and I haven't really made new videos in a while. And during that time, the NFL draft happened. And I just don't know enough about all the young players to even talk about that. But I was thinking today about a lot of the teams that are, rebuilding their teams. Really, they got rid of everybody. So I thought maybe that could be interesting to just talk about, what kind of triggers a rebuild and why. So I'm no expert in any of this. I just kind of did a little research and was thinking about it a little bit. Because as you know, my sister, she's a big Ravens fan. And they got a new coach and everything. And that got us kind of talking about it. The Steelers just got a brand new coach and getting all new teams. So that's sort of what started leading to this. So it's really, I don't even know quite how to start, but so it's really about teams rebuilding and why. Let me know if your team has had a major rebuild this year. It feels like a lot of teams are kind of, rebuilding from the ground up this year, doesn't it? Or is that just my imagination? I don't know. But like a lot of teams will go through a window of time where they are winning a ton. And they kind of call that a championship window. And we've all seen this where a team's like so good, they just feel like they're invincible. And then it's sort of sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly putters out. And that can sometimes have to do with aging players. And sometimes it's their age, but sometimes it's they get good enough, they leave. They go to a different team to make more money, or retire because of their age, or they just get injured and the injuries start to build up. So, I don't know, they leave for more money maybe, or injured. And sometimes they're injured for months and months, but then they come back. They're not quite the same. So there's just different things that can start to make the window close on a team. And so then they'll try to like patch it up for a few years, and eventually they realize we're just not winning like we were. And so maybe they need to make a major reset to their team. So the thing is, the NFL has salary caps. And the salary cap is for not the individual player, but for the team. And I actually looked up if coaches count in this because I didn't really know, and they don't. So the team has like an umbrella. That's not a great example, but let's say, okay, this is how much money they have to spend. So if they pay their quarterback this much, then they got to break up all the rest between the other guys. So if they have a great team And some of their players start wanting more and more money. They might not be able to afford them all. So some of them will leave to go play with other teams. I think that's kind of right. But so if you kind of realign your whole team, then maybe you get a bunch of young players who don't require as much money. So you can spread the salary cap out. Oh, I know what I was about to say. But the coaches are not included in this. So you could hire like elite coaching staff, and that won't hurt your salary cap because coaches aren't included. Of course, teams still have a certain amount of money they're willing to spend, but just so you know, coaches and the staff, the coaching staff, all the people who help run the team, they aren't included. This is just players in the salary cap. So these older like players and rosters can start to cost quite a bit of money. So sometimes they'll trade experienced veterans and try to bring in young players and kind of clear some of the cap space so they can hire younger people. They'll invest in these like, I hate to call them cheap, but they're kind of young, cheap players. They're untested in the NFL. But the other thing with being a kind of mediocre team for a few years is it can give you better. Okay, so they just had the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. And if you are I think I'm understanding this. If you're the worst team in the NFL, you get number 1 pick in the draft. Is that right? I think that's right. So I was like, well, then if you're not doing great in a season, would you? And I heard this said last season, that some teams were intentionally losing to get better picks in the NFL draft. And my argument against that was that these coaches and these players are too competitive. They're just built competitive. They're not going to blow off a game to get better picks for the team in the next year. I just don't buy that. Or for betting reasons. But I looked it up. And this hasn't been like proven or anything. This is just people talking, I guess. But they talk about tanking a season or tanking a team in order to get better NFL picks. And they said it wouldn't be like necessarily the players or the coaches because they are super competitive. But the management might like bench a healthy player early in the season or like mid-season, and people would go, why are you benching a healthy ex-player, or trade like a really good player for reasons people couldn't quite understand. So things like this trade a good player, I don't know. They kind of considered that like management intentionally tanking a team in order to get better draft picks. I don't know, you guys. I don't know if that's something that actually happens or it's just people feeling like that happens. I'm not sure. But anyway, so the worse your record in the previous season, the higher your pick in the draft. So I guess I could kind of see, especially, you want to be able to get an elite quarterback. So you really want that early draft pick. So there is reason to do it. I mean, it would be sort of like a short-term loss could equal real gains in talent. So I guess I could see why management, do you put an E in there, management, might do this, but I'm not saying it's done. I don't know. I don't know about that. Anyway. So, I don't know. That's just some of the things that lead to a rebuild. I don't know where I'm going with this. So, like I was saying with the Ravens, they have hired a new coach. So anytime like you get a new coach or a general manager, that could just actually trigger a rebuild. Whether, because some coaches might keep the team and just be the new coach. But some coaches want to clear the decks. And they might trade away their veterans to get, fresh draft picks. They want to play young players. So a lot of times they might lose games at first while they're working out their young players, but it could be for future gains. Like sometimes a team you got to give them a little leeway when you have a brand new team like that. But usually they'll pick like a really good quarterback, even if he's new, and then build around that. So they may have to just change out the whole team. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. And I think a lot of new coaches, they don't want the old roster who might be set in their ways or very dedicated to the old way of doing things. So it's like anytime you get new management, it's like, so it's kind of like you might step back for a year in order to be really good later on if you're building with young talent. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. I'm not sure any of that meant anything to me. I was just thinking about like with some of the coaches that left this year, I felt like, they were good coaches. But sometimes that's not what it's about. It's really like just building fresh, just brand new, fresh teams. So what team are you guys excited about? Or players? I'm just not familiar enough with these young players right now. I'm going to have to research it before the season. So the NFL has salary caps, and sometimes teams just decide to rebuild almost from the ground up if their championship window seems to be closing. And sometimes it takes years for a team to really realize that their championship window has closed. Does management sometimes tank a team to get better NFL draft pick position? I don't know. Maybe. And how do they do that? They might bench healthy players. They might trade a really good player mid-season. I don't know, what else do you guys think? I read some, like something about Miami Dolphins sometimes in a rebuild, the first thing they'll do is hire a new coach or general manager and try to find a brand new spicy quarterback. And then build a team around the new quarterback, which is hard. It's hard to find a great quarterback there, you know. And that sets the course for a reset. The worse you do, the better your NFL draft picks. Maybe you play one bad season to get a good pick. I don't know. A lot of the times, older players leave. I know this was talking about the championship window, that sometimes it ends because the players have aged out a little bit, or they've been injured so many times, or they leave because they want more money. I was thinking about talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs, but I've been so not. First of all, I can't even get any of them to play because you have to pay for the service to see the